You're listening to the Business for Good podcast, the show where you'll hear inspirational stories about companies making money by solving some of the world's most pressing problems. I'm your host, Paul Shapiro, and I'm glad you've joined us. Welcome, friend, to episode 178 of the Business for Good podcast. I'm glad that so many people were happy with the last episode with Isabel Bomecki on nuclear electricity. It was popular with a lot of folks who wrote in about it, many expressing surprise at just how few people have been killed by nuclear energy accidents, only a few hundred, compared to renewable hydropower accidents, which was hundreds of thousands from one single hydro accident. Other people also were surprised, as certainly was I, at how little land nuclear power takes up compared to solar panels. Anyway, if you like that episode, we're going to be doing another one in the near future on nuclear electricity, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we're talking about perhaps what seems like the most renewable resource on the planet, or at least one of them, human beings. There are more than 8 billion of us on the planet today, with 10 billion projected to be here in the next 25 years. So while some of us, myself included, do seem to lose some of it as we age, all of us grow hair. And what do we do with it when that hair is too long? Of course, we cut it off and it goes into landfills. But what if one solution to our waste problem is literally growing right on our heads? Because every day, salons around the world toss out millions of pounds of freshly cut human hair. It's a clean, protein-rich, renewable resource that mostly ends up in landfills or incinerators. But what if that so-called waste could become the next sustainable textile? My guest on this episode, Zsofia Kollar, is the founder and CEO of Human Material Loop. Yes, you heard that right, Human Material Loop, a Netherlands-based startup turning hair salon waste into a high-performance fiber that behaves like wool, but with 43 times lower CO2 emissions, 20 times less water use, and none of the animal cruelty or the plastics. Their branded fiber, which is called Adara, is already being spun into things like carpets, curtains, and acoustic panels, and it's made from something we all grow ourselves. In this conversation, Zsofia and I talk about how she got the idea to build an entire materials company out of human hair, how her technology works, why hair is such a strong and versatile material, of course, the ick factor of using any human-derived fiber, and how she's scaling her model so that salons and Human Material Loop benefit alike. If you think that using human hair in textiles sounds strange, stick around, because by the end of the episode, you might just want a carpet made from your own cutoffs too. I'll let Zsofia make the case. Zsofia, welcome to the Business for Good podcast.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. You know, my wife donates her hair, so she grows it way out. She won't cut it for over a year, and then she donates it to kids who need hair. And I always think, that's interesting. What happens to all the hair that just gets cut at salons and hair cutteries and so on? And I have wondered in the past, why not do something with all this hair? That's the extent of it, though. I never had a proposal. I never thought, here's what you could do. I just thought, that's a lot of hair. I wonder what you could do with it. You, on the other hand, thought, what can we do with it? And actually came up with some idea. So tell me, how did that come to pass that you thought cut off human hair might be some actual viable business?
Oh, well, many things led to this concept and the foundation of the company. First of all, if you really want to design, I come from a design background, so if you really want to design something, we need to go back to the materials. So if we can't have responsible materials, we can never design anything responsible further along the way. The second is I was looking at my body, and then I'm donating my blood. I already signed up my organs if I pass away, and I'm like, we are such a wonderful creatures, but what else can we actually give without harming ourselves? And then, I have a long hair. And it clicked also that, wow, this is the second fastest tissue on the human body. It just keeps growing, and we just cut it because, we like to have some style in our hair. But what do we do with it? And then I realized, well, actually, we're just incinerating and landfilling it. Well, it's actually just such a clean prime protein that goes to landfills in a huge volume. So quite a shame. And that was how I was thinking, okay, we need to do something with this material, but also be looking at the climate crisis, the textile industry, and its exploitation, pollution for the environment. But also it was just so fascinating that once you have hair on your head, it's the most precious piece on your body. You would do anything, spend money, time on it to make it look good. But once it's cut, it's so neglected, you don't even want to look at your own hair on the floor. And I think that's the biggest issue in today's world, that we just remove value from everything so quickly. But what if we can give value back to everything that we discard? Then we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually thinking when I was contemplating our conversation in advance, I was thinking about how people care so much about hair, right? They do so much to make their hair look attractive. And then as soon as the hair is no longer on your head, even though it's, molecularly identical to a minute before, it becomes completely disgusting to us. Like if there was a hair on your food, you would be outraged. If there was a hair on your shirt that you were going to buy, you would think it was disgusting. And I did wonder, like, we're going to get to this factor about, like, the gross out factor later. I'm sure you get asked about this all the time about who wants products with human hair. But let's first talk about what you're doing, Zsofia. So you saw all this hair getting, thrown down the drain, right? Going into trash cans and landfills or being incinerated. And you thought, oh, what a shame. But it's not like you're just taking that hair as is and, weaving it into a t-shirt that somebody's going to wear. You're doing something to this hair to make it usable as a textile. What is it that you're doing?
Yeah, so we have developed our technology to transform these fibers into Adara. That's our branded market fiber that we are planning to put into mostly for the interior and home textile market. So it's a process that is based on organic chemistry, where we are removing the melanin, opening up the scales of the fibers, and also applying some nanoparticles to enhance the friction to make it tunable for a spun yarn or a non-woven textile piece. How we call it more or less in-house is vivifying the fibers and then also preparing for a standardized textile fiber application.
The idea behind this, when I was first learning about your cool work, I was thinking, she wants to make this into t-shirts, but it turns out actually what you're doing is turning it into things like interior furnishings. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, so think about like curtains, carpets, upholstery, acoustic panels, acoustic textiles. So very much in the built environment. We were also in the beginning did a few fashion collaborations. We have a lot of fashion requests also at the moment, but we also see that we need to deliver volumes if we want to create real impact for the future. And the interior industry is the one that actually brings volume to the market, does not get discarded, does not driven by trend. It's really driven by performance. But also if we look at how much we spend indoors and all the materials we surround ourselves indoors and all those toxic coatings, all those unhealthy materials that we have our products made of in our homes, in offices, in hotels, actually have a very serious health impact. So how can we also turn this big volume into the most sustainable textiles out there that will actually not harm your...
So right now, if I cut my hair and I throw it into the backyard, presumably it's going to biodegrade, right? However, you're going to make a carpet out of my hair. What keeps the carpet from biodegrading right under my feet? Like, why isn't it going to biodegrade?
Hair is extremely strong due to the keratin protein structure that it's mainly made of. It does not degrade in aerial environment. So if you put your hair into the ground in a soil environment, it will degrade within 2 years, just like wool and all other protein fibers and animal hair. In aerial environment, it does not degrade. So also if you look at it, the oldest found hair is a 9,000-year-old hair found in a mummy in Chile. So basically that carpet will never fall apart because it will just extremely strong. Of course, all these years since I started the company, I received so many hair from all over the world, from all kind of people. And once somebody found almost 200 years old hair in their attic, and then they sent it to us. But we were just very curious to test how much it got weakened during this time, what happened to the hair. But structurally, you could not see any difference to my own hair. So it's just an incredible material that has so much potential to bring a real difference to the world.
So what you're saying, Zsofia, is that if I take your carpet and I put it in my living room, it won't degrade. But if I buried it underground, it might.
Yeah, absolutely. It will. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So how did you get started? Did you just go around to hair salons and say, hey, can I have the hair you're tossing? Like, what was the actual way that you started obtaining human hair?
That's exactly how it was. So I was still living in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and of course I had to talk to hairdressers. What do they produce in a month? How much hair they are cutting? What do they think about this material? I talked to many hairdressers, many industry players. To what do you do with this hair? Would you have the ambition to do something with it? And it was incredible to see because you can do so much research from your desk, reading all these papers, but when you actually talk to people who are working with this, they were so enthusiastic, so happy, and all their reactions were like, where have you been? You can't imagine like how many bags we have put out on the street all these years. While it's incredible material, like this is the most well-maintained material that we have. We wash it, we treat it, we condition it. It's just the best material anybody can think of. And they were all the time thinking, what can we do with this? But then I think it also comes into play, like you need to combine different perspectives and expertise to actually make an innovation. So how a hairdresser can inspire me as a designer and a scientist to come in it and the engineer later. Like this is just such a beautiful way of to really to show that diversity actually what makes innovations go.
So do they give it to you for free? Like they're putting it out in trash bags on the street, but are they giving it to you for free or are you paying them for the hair?
We had a subscription model, so that's what they are paying. And then in the long term, they can also get some benefit from the waste collectors that are currently operating for these waste streams. So the business model for them is also on win-win situation. So they can also make some profit in the long term. As a company, between us and the hair salons, we do not want to have an exact monetization because that could enable some exploitative practices within. So we just want to make sure that the salons can grow, get more clients, lower their taxes, lower their payment for the waste collection, and reinvest that money also into remodeling their salons, changing their lighting for a more sustainable one, having coffee served from a more sustainable source, and so on. So it's a win-win situation that is really based on the partnership, that's how we can strengthen each other.
So just so I understand what you're saying, is I heard you say, Zsofia, that there's a subscription model. Who is paying who? Are they paying you to take the hair or are you paying them for the hair? Who pays in the subscription?
They pay us.
Okay, so why, if they just can right now throw out the hair for free, why would they pay you to take it?
It's not free to throw away unless they dump it in some illegal spot somewhere. It's not free. They have to pay the city.
I see. So they're reducing their own municipal waste cost by doing this.
Exactly.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know what businesses do. Like, I do. At least in California where I am, the business that I run, we have a dumpster and the city comes and they pick it up every month, but we don't get charged based on how much we put in the dumpster. We just can't fill up more than one dumpster. That's it. So what you're saying is in the Netherlands that you're actually getting charged by the pound of waste that they're putting out there. Is that how it works?
It depends. So it depends on some municipalities. Some they are charging them based on the square meter of the salon. Some has a fixed rate of approximately calculated bags that they are putting out on the street. There is also a certain amount of garbage tax that you have to pay every year as a business owner here in the Netherlands, and also very similar in other European countries as well.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you're not just getting your raw material for free. You are getting paid to pick up the raw material, and then you have to do something to it, right? You're going to transform it. There is something that is, I presume, proprietary to your company. Otherwise, anybody else could just go get hair and weave it into a carpet also. And I've read it in interviews that you mentioned basically two technological pathways, what you call physical or chemical versus keratin extraction, right? Excuse me, and like wet spinning. I don't really know what those are. So tell me what those are, keratin extraction and wet spinning. What does all this mean? You take hair and then what do you do to it?
So we take the hair, we sort it, everything that is under 3 centimeter, we sort it out of our big bulk. Anything that is longer than 3 centimeter goes through a chemical processing, which uses very mild chemicals to do the treatment that we have developed, and that goes into a spun yarn. So shorter fibers spun together, very similar as wool or cotton. So all these shorter fibers spun together. But when we are removing everything that is under 3 centimeter, we have some waste from the previous production. So as a company, we also aim to be completely closed loop. We have no waste. So what is waste in one of our production, that's the input for the other production. And that's where the wet spinning comes in, where we are extracting the keratin from the hair, and then creating a solution that we can spun into a continuous filament. So very similar to the viscose production, for example, where you are making a pulp, a liquid, and then you spin it into a continuous filament.
Okay, so how do you maintain consistency, right? Because you're going to have some hairs that are, people have curly hair, they have straight hair. People might have different qualities of hair. If their hair is thinner or thicker, they might be dyeing their hair. How do you maintain a consistency? Usually, a company wants an invariable supply of their raw material coming in. But by very definition of getting this waste stream product, it's not consistent. It is very variable. So, how do you ensure that what you get comes out all in one type of form?
Of course, there are some differences, so different color, type of hair, but when you mix a lot of different things, then it evens out itself. So the more you mix into each other, the more homogeneous the output will become. So we are, of course, working with quite some volume, so that the more we blend in, the more equal the outcome will be. That's how we can guarantee that the output will be always the same based on the blending method that we have. But also, if you look at all the natural fibers, they are never the same unless it's a synthetic material. You will never have the same sheep. You will never have the same goat. You will never have the same cotton growing in the exactly same way. So if you talk about in the natural fibers, there are always some differences. This is not a mass-produced fiber. This comes from living creators. So of course there are differences, but we blend it and it evens out.
Okay, so that is really fascinating, Zsofia. How are you going to scale it though? Like if you are in a position right now where in Amsterdam you've got a subscription service for salons, how do you scale this to go make the impact that you want to have so that you're getting huge volumes of hair, not just pilot?
The supply is not an issue at all. So that's what we need to now be careful that we match the supply demand side as well, because we have so much here offered to us from all different organizations, businesses, that the volume can really come in really, really big quantities. There are also some waste remaining from the wig industry where they are making the wig. On that base, we can also obtain. So that's quite a big bulk supply that we are now first targeting to get those bulk supplies from the waste of the wig factories.
Wow. Okay. I am really impressed that about, the product that you're making and based on how you're getting it. What are the physical characteristics of this fiber, right? Like some people, you're talking about cotton and wool, which have different characteristics from each other, which is the primary reason why somebody might use one versus the other. Then there are synthetics. You're using human hair. Like, what are the performance characteristics of this fiber? The strength, the durability, like compared to the things you're trying to displace.
So hair is very similar to wool, except it has a higher diameter. So it also means that it has much more of the strength, elongation, and also the breaking point. So we are starting with an extremely strong fiber that can provide a very high tensile strength for any product we would make from it. But next to that, it also has a natural fire retardancy. You don't have to apply any additional coatings to make the fabric fire retardant. But also because of the protein structure, the colorability is extremely good. Coloring proteins like wool or silk is very efficient because the amino acids are bonding with the dyes. We can use less dyes on lower temperatures and then create a higher resistance to UV lightness that enables a very good light fastness for the material. So I would say these three things are the most key performance indicators for the material: the strength, the colorability, and the fire retardancy.
And what are you actually like when people ask you, what should I use your material in replacement of? Is it cotton? Is it wool? Like, what is the replacement? Or is it just something totally different that it's not actually a one-to-one replacement for any current fat fiber?
We often compare our material to wool fibers because that's what we are very similar to. Mine is the animal cruelty and then animal exploitation involved in the processing. No microplastics that we have in our material. So we don't per se that we can replace this material. We can provide an alternative for your current material uses, such as acrylic or wool, recycled polyester. So it's up to the people what they would like to actually bring into that product, what performance they are looking for, what footprint they are looking for, what's important for them.
Okay. So what is the actual cost then? Like if it is, let's say, wool that you're comparing it to. I read in a article, like a year-old article from the Washington Post, but they noted that it costs more than wool right now, and that full-scale production is not yet achieved. So what's the cost compared to wool? And at full scale, will you be cost competitive with the dominant fibers today?
We also just did our unit economic and validated numbers from different factories. We are already cost competitive with wool. So now we already achieved that we can provide our material on the same cost as wool, so people don't have to decide on what they can afford. It's about what they're willing to put into the environment from the product line. And the more we scale, the cheaper we will become. Our goal is to really to provide an affordable material, because anybody should have the right to have sustainable and healthy materials on an affordable price.
Okay. If you are already cost competitive with wool, I don't believe that you're at full scale just yet. So what scale are you at? You're already selling. Where can people buy an HML carpet or something else that is made with human hair?
We are a B2B company, so we will not produce any final products. We are just providing the fiber, yarn, or felt or woven fabric to other companies who want to put it into their product. So it's up to the companies how quickly they will implement it to their new collection, their product lines, our materials. We are now started our sales process, so we are still in the beginning of that cycle to actually bring it out to the market. If companies are interested, they can always reach out to us to inquire some materials, and then we are happy to provide what we can do for them. At the moment, we are on a few hundred kilograms production capacity, and it's increasing as we go every month further and further.
100 kilos per day, per week, per year?
Per batch.
And a batch is a week, a day? How long to make 100 kilos of product?
Well, we can do one batch a day at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's exciting. So you're saying it's up to these companies as to how quickly they're going to actually commercialize what they're doing with you. What type of companies are they? Are they carpet companies? Are they making curtains? Like what do you think is going to be the first application of your fiber in the actual marketplace?
We are more than certain that it will be a lot of acoustic solutions, so a lot of acoustic panels, phone booth, and those solutions that actually help to reduce noise in the offices. We are also talking to a lot of carpet manufacturers who would just buy the yarn from us and weave that carpet. So it's either going to be on your wall or on your floor.
Okay. Well, I'm in a room that has sound destroying panels on the side of the room right now. So it would be pretty cool if they were made with human hair. There's also a carpet in the room. That would be awesome if it was made from human hair. But many people are not like me. I would be thrilled to have some human hair fabric in my household. A lot of people, of course, as I alluded to earlier, are going to find it disgusting. What do you say to them when people say, I don't want some stranger's hair, let alone dozens of strangers' hairs in my home? It sounds filthy to me. What do you say?
It's also important to say that it has been hair once, so it's the material that goes through transformation. So the fiber is called Adara. It's a Sanskrit word that means respect and reverence. That's also what we stand for as a company. So Adara is our first commercial fiber. So the hair goes through transformation. It's just like you don't say you bought this beautiful crude oil yoga pants, you say about this nylon or polyester pants. The materials goes through transformation. So don't think that you will just find your neighbor's hair in the carpet and you can give it back to her or him. This material goes through transformation, sanitization, very strict hygiene protocols, a chemical process. So this is no longer hair. This is a new textile fiber. But when people say like, well, I feel a bit ick or I'm not really comfortable knowing the fact that it has been on somebody's head before, well, let me tell you that T-shirt that you are most likely buying has been through at least 20 children's hands in the sewing factory. To me, that's a lot more disgusting to think of, that where this material has been before, and then just think of somebody beautiful, happily walking out of a hair salon, feeling good, recycling the hair waste, and then thinking like how amazing and beautiful it is that now we are not just part of the problem, but we are also part of the solution.
Yeah, I like your example about the crude oil yoga pants, right? Because we have so many synthetic products that we wear that originate from oil. But also, many people are quite happy to wear the hair of animals, as you pointed out, many of whom the animals were treated quite poorly. And it's not like these animals were living the type of hygienic life that a modern human is probably living, right? These animals are living in filthy factory farms a lot of the times, and then we shave off their hair and put it into a sweater that we would wear. That does seem a little bit filthier than human hair, I would suggest.
Absolutely, much more. Like, have you ever seen a sheep having a bath? Like we humans, we wash our hair, body at least once a day. So this is the cleanest fiber anybody can imagine, and then with no contamination, with no bacterial growth, with no nastiness, and yeah, that sheep that we are sharing or any other animal, it's extremely dirty. Not just talking about the feces, the dirt, the blood it gathers all those time, but also that that animal was not conscious to give that care to us. We are still forcing them. Well, we have a very different approach as well, that everybody is willingly, happily donate this hair in a salon. Many hairdressers also always asking their clients, would you mind that we are collaborating with this company, collecting the hair? Nobody ever said, no, please don't recycle my hair waste.
Yeah, right. I can imagine. I have to ask you, like, if you think about even the process by which you get your hair, right? You're getting paid to take the hair. The people who are raising sheep and making wool, right? They have to pay to breed the sheep, to feed the sheep, to water the sheep, for the land that the sheep are on, to eventually slaughter the sheep. Like, there's all types of costs associated with raising an animal for wool. And so the company buying wool to make a sweater or a rug or anything else is paying for all of that. In your case, you're not only not paying for the hair, you're getting the hair for free. So then you're running a process. You're not just getting the hair for free. You're actually getting paid to take the hair. So your raw material is coming in at a already is your first source of revenue. Shouldn't you be substantially cheaper? Like, how expensive are these processes, like wet spinning or whatever you're doing? How expensive are they that you're only cost competitive with wool?
Of course, we will become much cheaper in the future. So now, as we are scaling, we are reducing every day our cost in the production as well. I'm not sure. The goal would be to compete with polyester, but unfortunately, it is so extremely cheap on the market that with synthetic fiber production, competing currently is almost impossible. But in the long run, absolutely, we will be much cheaper than wool.
Okay. So then what about the life cycle analysis? I presume that you've done some work looking at either the land footprint or the carbon footprint. So, of course, there is no footprint for the raw material coming into you, but you're running these processes that I presume take energy and other resources to perform. So, what is the life cycle analysis of your product, your final fiber, versus wool or any other competitor?
Yeah, so we did a comparison to wool and for recycled polyester. So if we look at the global warming potential measured in kilograms and in CO2, we have 43 times less than wool and 16 times less than recycled polyester. If we are looking at the water consumption, we have 20 times less than wool and 10 times less than recycled polyester. On the terrestrial ecotoxicity, we also have much lower numbers than wool and recycled polyester. We also did some other comparisons to cotton and viscose, but as we compare also benchmarking our material to recycled polyester and wool, we like to stick to these comparisons as well. But it was quite shocking to realize like how much more impact we can create by implementing this material into the production system. And I do have to say that the LCA that we have done, it was gate to gate. So means that the cradle to gate for the material sourcing and the cultivation period was not calculated in. So just by looking at the factory production gate to gate, we already have so much better impact than the materials out there. And once we do the cradle to cradle analysis for our life cycle analysis, we will be extremely way above the dream that we can provide the material in this low footprint.
That's impressive. That's impressive. You mentioned earlier, Zsofia, that you're already are an organ donor, right? So you're going to die at some point and they're going to harvest, your kidneys, your liver, your heart, whatever they can to help somebody else. Can you get hair donations from cadavers as well? Like before people get cremated, can you have the morgue shave their head and give their hair to human material loop?
Definitely not. Unless somebody specifically requested to cut the hair and give it to us. We have a very strict ethical practice, and every supplier that we are working with have to very comply where this hair is coming from. The one thing we really want to avoid is that nobody will force anybody or obtain this hair in an unethical practice.
if somebody is already an organ donor, presumably they wouldn't care, or you think that's not right?
That's right. Unless they specifically donate my hair, I don't think I had it in my organ donation form that I had to also, I just ticked everything, but there was no hair. I'm pretty sure. But if somebody's afraid, welcome. But as I said, we have a very strict ethical policy on where this hair can come. And they are also uh, tracing back where all this hair is coming from. So preferably don't.
Okay. All right. Very good. I might have to change my will to note that I want my hair donated now to make it explicit. Okay. Zsofia, you're doing one of the most interesting things of anybody I've ever spoken to. I really hope that there are a lot of people who are like me who don't mind and would actually like to have a human hair carpet in their house. What resources were useful for you when you were deciding to start this company, or since you started the company, that have been helpful for you along your journey to making this company a reality?
People. It will sound very cliche, but talking to people, you will gain so much knowledge and understanding of the industry, of the market, of the economics, of what you need to get done to make this company to the next stage. And of course, I also read a lot of books, and I am a big podcast listener as well. So I always seeking where can I learn something, where can I learn a tip, learn from others, how they did it. But what advice I can give to everybody, just keep talking to as many people as you can. Tell everybody on LinkedIn, hey, do you have 15 minutes? I would like to know about this. I would like to know about that. What do you think of this? Because people are genuinely very helpful creatures. So if somebody comes to you and I really genuinely want to have some better understanding, you will not deny that person. Maybe you don't have time right away, or you recommend somebody else. But we actually we like to help each other, and that was also a beautiful part of recognizing that during this journey of the company, that keep talking to people because they will help you.
Yeah, I have also found that asking people for advice generally yields pretty good outcomes, and that most people are very averse to saying no to offering advice. Finally, Zsofia, let me ask you if there are companies that you wish that somebody else would start. Presumably, you are going to be busy with Human Material Loop for some time. I imagine, though, that if you had the idea that is as crazy as starting as a company made out of human hair, then you probably have other cool, crazy ideas that maybe somebody else wants to take up. So for somebody listening, what should they think about doing?
I really think that we need to explore more of what the body can provide. And I see a huge potential in urine utilization. It's a very valuable ammonia that we could use into so many different industries. We already collected it through the pipe. So I think that could be a very interesting company to pursue, and then also to use. We are the biggest impact makers on this planet, so how can we actually use our existence to do something? I don't have any creepy ideas about butchering anybody, but really like the bodily fluids that we are just releasing. How can we utilize that? How can our own waste become something useful for the future? On a more consumerist side, I keep struggling of finding a very good natural deodorant. Um, so I also would like to encourage some people to please also to pursue how can we actually develop something that is actually biocompatible with our skin, and then with our sweat. Because I've been keep struggling for many years. I found a very great solution, but then after some time, it always disappoints, gives some issues. So I think we should be more body centered, human focused, and actually what can our body give and what our bodies need.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Zoroastrian practice of sky burial?
Yeah.
So, for those who aren't familiar, basically the Zoroastrians, which is a religious minority in Persia, have a practice where they put their dead up on the top of a tower for vultures to consume them. It's a very sacred practice, which has unfortunately been harder to do of late because of the dramatic vulture population decline, as basically there's a drug that cattle have been fed that is, when vultures consume them, has decimated the cattle population in India and Pakistan and so on. But it's a pretty cool practice. I would frankly love to have a sky burial for myself, actually. So I doubt that's going to be legal or possible in the US, but it sounds pretty awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate all of that, Zsofia, and I really hope that you're able to scale quickly so that I can get a cool human hair carpet in my household. I promise you that I will be a customer of whoever your customer is, if that's what they're offering. So I'm really looking forward to that. Congratulations on the success that you've had so far. My understanding is that you are fundraising right now. If people want to get in touch, they can go to your website. We'll share that link at businessforgoodpodcast.com so they can learn more about how they can get involved with Human Material Loop. So good luck in everything that you're doing, Zsofia, and I will continue to root for your success.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, please let the world know. Leave the show a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app and share the episode with your friends. Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire one of them to be in the business of doing good themselves.